This is Jennifer Clark Tinker for Life and Liberty with David Householder. And I just finished writing up a post for the site there at Life and Liberty. It's all about 5 reasons why I feel free to question God. And it's just something that's been a part of my life since I was a kid. And so I wanted to share with you a story from my childhood about questioning the faith. See, when I was in elementary school was when we first started going to church as a family. I didn't really have a church before that point, and God and church and stuff wasn't much part of my life. I think I maybe had been to Vacation Bible School, but it was just strange, and I didn't quite understand it all. But really didn't start going to church till after I started school, and I felt like as a Lutheran, new to the Lutheran faith, it was a nice little Lutheran church that we went to. I felt like I had a lot of catching up to do because the other kids in my Sunday school class, they had been in church their whole lives. And, as Lutherans, we baptize babies. And so they were baptized. They were fully a part of, that as far as, being baptized and being part of the church family in that way. And here I was brand new to the faith. And so I started off the bat like I didn't know as much as they did. I hadn't been in Sunday school since I was, forever. And so I had a lot of questions. And I remember even, when I was baptized, it was very much, it was my choice, actually. My brother was 2 years older than me, and it was time for him to enter. He could go into his first communion class. And so he was getting ready to go into that. And so to do that, then he had to be baptized before he could go to first communion class. And I was asking questions at that time, like, well, why can't I be baptized? And so shortly after, my brother was baptized, did his first communion class, and then I was baptized shortly after that because I was like, I want to be a part of this. I like this church thing. This is good for me. And so it's kind of, at that point, for me, it was even as young, I was 9 years old when I was baptized. But even then, it was like, this is real in my life. This is something I want to be a part of always. And, it was important. But I remember, I think it was 5th grade, fourth or 5th grade, somewhere in there. But I remember one particular Sunday school class. I don't remember what the lesson was about, but I was asking a lot of questions. And the teacher just, as many questions I asked, she just would engage with me and work with me on whatever questions I was asking. And she took it really well. But there were a couple of boys in the class, and I won't name names, that would just roll their eyes at me. And when I would groan at me, and it would when I would ask one more question, because I still didn't quite get it. I would ask one more question. And these 2 boys in particular, both good Lutheran boys who had been baptized as babies, part of the church their whole lives, who had been there, and they didn't have to ask so many questions because they had been there all along and didn't maybe quite have the same urgency to ask all these questions that I did. But they rolled their eyes and groaned at me, and I was so, I felt really embarrassed and discouraged. But my questions were so real to me. And for me, it was vitally important because this God thing was real. And I knew this was real and important and good. And so I wanted to get my questions answered. And so I persisted even though I felt embarrassed. And then after class, the teacher asked me to stay after. And she took me aside. And her name was Mrs. Johnson. And I'll never forget her. And she was really, really present with me. And she took me after class and said, don't let those boys get to you, because you're doing the right thing. It's right to ask questions. This is really important because that's how you grow in your faith. And so that, her ministry to me in that time of her telling me it's right to ask questions. This is good. This is how you grow in your faith. That's really become something I've taken to heart. And so even in my adulthood, I continue to ask questions. I ask hard questions, and the questions get harder and harder the older I get. But I continue to ask them because that's how I grow in my faith. And if you'd like to see all 5 of my reasons of why I think it's important to me to ask questions, you can click on at Life and Liberty, and you can actually go to my author page, davidhouseholder.com/author/Jen Tinker. That's JENTINKER. That's my author page, and there'll be a post that'll pop up on that author page that says 5 reasons why I feel free to question God. And that's the title of the post. So you can read all those reasons there. Thanks so much for listening, and God bless you in the questions you're asking of him.